So the other thing that I've noticed, of course, is the prescriptions have gone up exponentially. So in the old days, you struggled to get any sort of prescription out of a GP. Now we're incentivized. Everyone, as soon as you hit 50, you've either got high blood pressure or high cholesterol. You may not have realized it yet. We're waiting to find you. And then the prescriptions seem to rise. So that on a Tuesday, I've been working in this group practice that has about 7 partners. And on a Tuesday, you have to do the repeat prescription. So you've got this huge pile of repeat prescriptions. You don't have time to read them. You just don't. You just sign, 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 sign. Even if you did have time to read them, half of the patients you've never met, half of the drugs you've never heard of, possibly, the only thing that keeps prescribing safe in general practice is the computer. The computer system is the only thing that spots potentially dangerous interactions between different drugs. If you ever go into a GP surgery and they say the computers are down, get the hell out of there now. It's the most dangerous place on earth is general practice with a computer system. I mean, it is ridiculous. Anyway, I'm doing these repeat prescriptions, and I thought, just for once, I'm going to be a bit anal. I'm going to go through this pile. I'm going to see if I can find the person on the most tablets, okay? I find a woman of 82 on 28 tablets a day. It's a couple for cholesterol, a couple for diabetes, a couple for osteoporosis, a couple for osteoarthritis, 17 for the obsessive-compulsive disorder she's developed since taking all her tablets. And, of course, she's on warfarin. Everyone is on warfarin now, rat poison, to stop you having a stroke. But the trouble with warfarin is that it interacts with all the other tablets. So this poor woman is coming down to get her warfarin levels checked every few days. Despite swearing she's taking her tablets, her warfarin levels are going up and down like a bride's nightie. We can't understand why, so I do a home visit. It turns out she gets so confused taking 28 tablets a day that at the beginning of the month she empties them all into one big basket, takes out 28 at random each day. I figured it would even itself out in the end, doctor. I said, Maud, that's ridiculous. What happens if you pick up a handful of red uns? She goes, I'm not stupid. I mixes them up. That is actually quite a sophisticated way of taking 28 tablets a day, because most people don't bother. And this is the absurdity of modern medicine, the waste of modern medicine. You know, it costs the drug industry about €1 billion to get a new drug to market. Doctors will dish out 5 or 10 million quid's worth of drugs in our lives. Prescribing nurses won't be that far behind. At best, the evidence suggests 1 in 3 patients in the long term complies with their medication in order for them to be effective. If you do home visits on people after they've died, it's pretty much the only time you get a home visit these days. Bit of politics. And you open up the cupboard under the sink, there are buckets of statins and blood pressure pills next to the pilchards and the fairy liquid they've been hoarding for a Soviet invasion. I mean, I changed the bloke's tablets to a better brand. Well, they were cheaper, but it was the same generic drug, it was the same chemical structure, same size tablet, same shape, same colour, same line across the middle. Just as I thought I got away with it, the bugger phones me up. He goes, Doctor, those tablets you gave me, they weren't the same. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, the first lot sank when I threw them down the toilet, and this lot float. So this is where the innovations come, particularly in primary care, is can you get people to take their tablets in order for them to be effective? We used to call it compliance, and that was decided that was a bit paternalistic, compliance. So then we called it adherence, and that was a little bit too paternal. Then we call it concordance. We probably call it something else now. We keep changing the name. But actually, the basic thing is people don't like taking tablets. So we came up with a Dosset box, which is a bit like a solitaire board, so you get all your tablets for the same day. Again, I've got another old lady who has a Dosset box. She didn't really like it. So she empties it into a pick and mix bowl, and she takes a couple of tablets every time she feeds the cat. A couple of cat biscuits, a couple of tablets. Cat biscuits, how? Thanks, va? Of course, she's got the two mixed up. She now has a cat with a cholesterol of 0, which is dead, and she smells suspiciously of tuna. But who cares? It's earning the GP a fortune. The reason this really, really matters is that chronic disease is where it's at. People always talk about the tsunami of chronic disease that's facing us and all sorts of reasons that it's complicated and difficult. But we do know that between 60 and 80% of the budget goes on chronic diseases, particularly now diabetes and chronic disease, and obviously smoking. Arthritis and cancer, etc., are in there as well. So it's really important we manage chronic disease better. They calculated in America, they have such a problem with obesity in America, they calculated if they could improve the management of diabetes by 1 percentage point in America, they could fund universal health care. So all those millions of people who are deprived of health care, if you could just manage your diabetes a bit better, it absolutely matters. And this is where humanity comes into it again. The trouble with, for example, obesity is not a nice word, is it? Morbidly obese isn't a really inspirational diagnosis, isn't it? I much prefer morbidly voluptuous. I think that's much nicer. This patient is morbidly voluptuous. What these people need is not shouted at and told, eat less and move more. You know, we know that it's true. If they ate less and moved more, they would lose weight, but they can't bloody do it. They need love, and they need a context and a reason for doing this sort of stuff. Even the bariatric surgery, which is stomach stapling and gastric bands, hugely impressive, particularly in the short term. You can absolutely turn somebody around, they'll lose lots of weight, they'll stop being diabetic, their joints will get back to it. It's amazing, but a huge psychological hole there. If you've got a life where food is the most important pleasure in your life and you suddenly remove the food, then you've got to fill the food with something else. And so it's all really complex and difficult. And I think actually it means going out into people's homes, giving them a hug, making them a fruit smoothie, doing the all kind of things we don't do. It's not just about dishing out the tablets and making sure they get their repeat prescription. There's a whole thing in there that involves people going around there and giving them compassion and love and support. And the biggest, probably I think in general practice, unused resource is patients buddying up with other patients.